no, if you don't mind, just glad that you're here. We just wanted you to introduce yourself. Just give us your full name and your business. Tell us what it's about.
Awesome. So I'm Gabi Odebode. My business is Afromeals, LLC. I'm originally from West Africa, Ghana. My husband is from West Africa, Nigeria. We started this business together. We're both co-founders of it. The business actually started in Maryland, where we're catering and doing a little teaching here and there. And then when we moved here, it's like, let's give people in Ohio, then Dayton, the African food experience, because we noticed that not a lot of people are used to the African food, cuisine. People are still asking, what is that? What is this? I'm like, oh no, this cannot happen. Like, people here need to know about how delicious our food is and also how rich our culture is. So people are not just eating food, through our food, they're also enjoying our culture. So that's what moved us to start the business. But originally, when the business started, I was doing my master's in science. So my background is biology. I was focusing on becoming a doctor, but while I was doing that, I was catering. This business used to be my side hustle. So at some point, I'm like, this is not for me. Working in the cancer center as a researcher, this is not for me. I love cooking for people. I love eating. So
I do too.
So I felt like that is where I'll be more happier in serving people than being in the hospital. So I kind of switched careers in that aspect. So,
Well, I mean, you can still see, like, working in hospitals and in healthcare is still a version of service.
It is, exactly. It was a service to them, but I'm like, I prefer serving in a way where I'm actually fitting people, because where I worked was very heartbreaking every day, seeing people going through, hard things, seeing people in that, way. It broke my heart, and I realized that I don't think I become a doctor because, like, I was heartbroken for those people. But
you needed separation, but still you are giving acts of service to people, which is, I think, another beautiful thing. So that's great. So when you talked a lot about African culture, describe that to me. What does that mean?
African culture, what is it? Comfort, home, unity, laughter. We don't really take ourselves too seriously. We try to make the best out of every situation. Looking at just my family, my current family and even my extended family, we love to, laugh. We love to celebrate. Even like where I'm from in Ghana, funerals is a way to also celebrate, the death of people. So we put a lot of, energy in that and a lot of money in that. So what is African culture is also being proud of who you are, being proud of your heritage, and, being proud of the richness of your culture. So that's what the African culture is to me, specifically West African culture.
Yeah. So how do you like it here in Ohio?
I love it. And speaking for my family, we love it because, again, going back to the African culture is also about family. And I love the family aspect of Ohio. Coming here, everyone is so family. Well, most people, I can't speak for everyone. Most people are family focused. You see families hanging out together on weekends, and also the way, I guess, for instance, when we moved here, by 9 o'clock, everybody was home.
Yeah, totally.
With their family, compared to like Baltimore, where it's kind of like 2, 3, 4 a.m. You still see people outside. It's like lively, But like at this time, everyone is home with their family. Kids are home with their parents, So that's one thing we love about it. We also love how I think there's a lot of opportunities here as well.
Yeah.
So those are the two things I can say. It's also very quiet, very peaceful, and we like that aspect too.
Yeah. Let me dig even deeper. Family is important. Why is family important to you? Or why is the act of sort of creating a family environment important?
I think your family is your foundation, and your family determines who you are. They determine a part of who you are. I don't know if you've heard nature versus nurture, right? Nurture is a big part of who you are. So what my family, and again, going back to my culture, remember, who your father is and behave when you go to school. So it's kind of like you're going to school, not just representing yourself, but you're representing your family.
Talk about your sort of cuisine. What kind of cuisine are you preparing?
So I would say African in general and African in diaspora. What am I saying? Through our business, Afromeals, we've been able to kind of use food ways to connect different culture, like soul food, right? Mm-hmm. We know that the enslaved Africans brought certain ingredients, and they tried to find certain ingredients that were similar to the one that they used to cook with back home in different parts of Africa, specifically the Western and the Central Africa region. That's what we want to promote, and also to show that Afromeals, we're not just focusing on just one way of cooking. Also, we're using it as an educational platform for people who know nothing about Africa. Like, to think that in 2024 now, people still believe that Africa is a country instead of a continent. So we use that to also educate people. And based on some of the menus that we do, we teach in our cooking classes and also our catering, you can tell that, yes, I'm from Ghana, but I'm not only teaching about Ghanaian cuisine. We're teaching Nigerian, we're teaching Ethiopian, South African, because I feel like people need to know that though we come from the same continent, we are very different. Like, if you go to the north, to the south, the east, the west, we're very different, and we have just a few things in common. So that someone will not ask me, oh, I have a cousin in South Africa, do you know them? No, I do not know them. Because I'm from Ghana.
It's a different part of the country.
Exactly. Yeah. And even if I'm from Ghana, that's still very diverse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because it's like asking somebody from, Ohio if they know somebody all the way in, from Maryland or from California, and they've never been there before.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So a big proponent of a big section of what you guys do is the classes and the workshops. What happens in those?
Oh my goodness. So what we do first is, of course, introduction, and then we make people feel comfortable. I say it's an educational aspect, but it's very fun. Very delicious. So they learn to cook different types of recipes depending on what class we post. So we have a Caribbean class, we have a tour of Africa where we're touring the different regions in Africa to try the different recipes to understand that, like, okay, we have similar ingredients, but it tastes also different. And also we have a soul food cooking class coming up also to understand, like, okay, and in the Caribbean, like I mentioned, like there's different foods around, the continent that African cooking has touched, like the Caribbean. For instance, like specifically Jamaicans, their root extend to, some parts of Ghana, because some of their food, for instance, rice and peas is similar to something that we make in Ghana called wache. So we want to also educate people that, okay, like your roots extend to this, because if not just looking at your DNA, the type of food you're eating is even similar to what we used to cook. Like I mentioned before, soul food with the okra and the rice in South Carolina and the greens.
It's interesting to see, like, I think it's nice because you're sort of connecting the dots and letting people know that we're all connected in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not all serious education. We have a lot of fun. We talk about the rich culture of that specific, food that we're cooking, and why their ingredients is so important, and why we should not misrepresent their food. And another reason why Afromeals we're doing this is because there's a lot of misrepresentation out there where some people want to cook something like jollof and they decide to use their own ingredients, and our people are mad.
Yeah, right.
On social media, like, that's not jollof. And it's like they're angry because they feel like people are misrepresenting their food, and it's not just food, that is their culture.
Yes.
So we're also teaching that we need to respect people's culture, even if it's the food that we want to try out. Let's respect the ingredients, let's respect the way they do it. And if you want to try something different, let your audience know that they normally do it this way, but I wanted to add my own, twist to it, so that, both those who do not know about that culture understand, And then those who are from the culture also understand what you're trying to do, so that there's not an uproar on social media and stuff.
Yeah, take them grapes out of that jar. Don't put that in there.
Don't put grapes
what are y'all
in jar. I just wanted to make it sweet.
So what is the most rewarding part of the workshops?
Just seeing people so excited that they got to experience this, they got to experience the culture, the food. Sometimes we tend to judge food by the way it looks, right? Until we taste it. And some people are so surprised about how delicious our food is. Also people learning that, oh wow, I didn't know this about this culture, and I'm so happy to do it. The first time I taught this class, it was another cooking school in Dayton, and the first people I had, one of the guy came up to me and was like, why have you all not done this? Why are you hiding? Your food is delicious. And that really was rewarding for me, that wow, it's not because the people here are not into it, it's just they're not exposed to it, or we are not, pushing our culture through food to other people. Because maybe sometimes we're scared that they might not like it, So I've realized that people here in the United States actually are willing to try different things, but we also have to do our part to make sure that we're doing what we can to expose them to it, and not say that, oh, people don't care about our food,
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. One of the last things I have is family is involved in the business side and the actual classes and things of that nature. What's it like working with family?
I love it. My husband is amazing. And when I say family, I'm going to speak for him, because he allows me to, push this business, and he's pushing it as well, from the IT side. He has his PhD in, information systems. So he brings the IT aspect, I bring the food aspect, and we're like a super, team together. So family is everything. My kids are also involved, coming up with ideas, they're my taste testers when I'm working on a recipe. So family is everything to me. This business started because of family, where I get to control my schedule and spend time with my kids. And because of that, my kids also know the business that their mom is doing, that they've been a part of, and they want to be more into it when they grow up. So so family is a big part of what we do, a big part of this business. They are all involved, they're all hands down, and I appreciate them for that.
I have one more thing that comes to mind. I wonder, are there any sort of, as you've been working and you've spoken to a lot of folks who are being introduced to Ghanaian and West African culture through cuisine, are there people that are there sometimes like some confusion between like the African American experience and like the African experience that you've been seeing?
There's a couple of misconceptions, and I think some of them have been cleared up. Some people still think that we live in the age of huts. Some people still think we live with lions.
What?
You'll be surprised. 2024, some people still ask questions that are kind of ridiculous. Like I said, is Africa, a country? Like this earring is Africa, and somebody asked me, oh, is that the map of Ohio? And Kroger. And I, kindly told them that no, and I took that. Sometimes people tend to get upset, right? Because they feel like people should know your culture. I don't get upset. I always see it as an educational moment, a teaching moment. So I was able to take my time to educate that person that, no, this is the continent and it has this amount of different countries, cultures and stuff like that. And they appreciated it because they learned something new. And that was last year. It's a lot of like perceptions that we need to like break and just all come together. Again, that's why we preach unity. We teach different cuisines, bringing people together like we're one. Let's love ourselves. Let's understand our culture through each other. Because me as an African, I also learned a lot from my African American counterpart about, their struggles here and what they went through. So I think that us coming together will really help us to be more united and understanding that both sides have their had their struggles,
yes.
but coming together, we're like very strong because we can learn from each other. So,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you do takes a lot of patience.
Yes.
But it's a lot of fun too. Though. You have a good time. So
it is a lot of fun. Yeah.
So cool. So thank you for sharing that part of your journey. I appreciate it.
Thank you.